Are there any questions that any folks might have? Yes.
So, this fall, as we all know, there was the tragic shooting in front of PCTA. And the police were there in a matter of minutes, tracked the suspect down, brought him under arrest, secured the perimeter, did a lockdown. Without SROs, there could have been a different outcome. You don't see a need for SROs in those circumstances?
So there's circumstances where we have been talking about the possibilities of incidents like this occurring in the future. Paul mentioned that these are things that might happen, and this is what we always base, the need for SROs inside of schools. And there might be incidents where police will be called, but when we talk to the superintendents of Providence schools, when we talk to like folks in the police department, they said that they are able to get people into schools in a matter of minutes. And in terms of like the school resource officers were not able to prevent that particular incident, even though they're already stationed there. PCTA has a school resource officer stationed there every single day, and yet that incident still happened. So in terms of the necessity of having them for particular incidents, it would have been the same outcome as if that SRO wasn't even there. So we do want to acknowledge that incidents might happen, and that police will probably be called, just because in the future we're asking for getting SROs out of schools. We're not asking for the complete abolition of police, which is a much larger demand that I think we're all working towards as social justice activists. But that's something that we have to take into consideration as we're moving forward with the campaign. But yeah.
So our station got a lot of questions about the fight at the Green Middle School. All we know is what Providence Police Department told us. What does the union think of a better way to handle a situation like that, like a fight with a student, a teenager that ended up arrested?
Right. So from what we know, last year there were more than 100 arrests at schools, and often fights lead to arrest, to students getting handcuffed publicly and being carried out. So we're hoping to transition into something that uses much more de-escalation and has much more of a connection with students. Currently, we're told that school resource officers are trained and try to create that atmosphere of being friendly with students, but we also know that they have a history as being policemen, and that they're there to enforce laws, criminal laws. So first and foremost, that's what they're there for. They're not there to be friends with students. We're hoping that we can transition a safety team of some sort who's they don't have that background, and they're able to create much more dialogue and to create much more connections with students to hopefully de-escalate situations much easier. So that's how certain incidents that are not armed would be handled, hopefully, with this new alternative that we're hoping to introduce in schools.
Can I just add? I think there's also a missing component. Like, one thing that you guys are not bringing up is that one of the things that everyone here is asking for, and it says it, is counselors. And I think the students are asking for more social emotional support in our schools. So having that social emotional support also serves as a proactive measure in trying to meet the overall needs of our students. So how can we make sure that we're reducing those types of incidents? So it's providing the students with the support that they need to be successful, to be able to handle conflict, to be able to engage with one another. And I think we're missing the questions that are being asked are not also taking into consideration that one part, that counselor's part, that social emotional support that the students are also needing.
Providence has introduced a whole social emotional support strand plus restorative justice.
Right.
Is there any acknowledgement that that's been an effort of theirs?
Well, that's something we're going to try to continually connect to. Any push for more restorative justice and social and emotional support ties directly into our third demand, which is an increase of support staff, which could be guidance counselors, academic counselors, mental health workers, etc. We have 3 core demands, and that's a third main demand that we hope to accomplish. The first one being getting SROs out of schools, the second one being transitioning an alternative to safety, and the third one adding that social and emotional support.
I guess my question is, they're moving in that direction according to Chris Marr, right? They're doing the social emotional strand.
Right.
They've introduced restorative. So aren't they kind of moving in that direction, or?
They're moving into that direction, and we hope to align with that push, and to hopefully put that pressure and say, yes, we do agree with what you're doing, but we also believe that that's directly tied to our two other demands as well.
Can I plug in?
Yes.
We recently had actually Paul and two of my co-managers go to Washington to hear that seat of votes.
I can't hear you, Alex, sorry.
Let me check. So,
Do you want to just come up?
So, yeah, we had two of our organizers go to Washington recently, and that seat of votes, like the Secretary of Education actually approved more student resource officers. So that's kind of like the antithesis of what we're asking for. Albeit, like, we do have a restorative justice component at the Providence Public School Department. We met with the superintendent and we talked about that, but we're trying to find a way to realize that student resource officers are like inherently racially like driven, and like when you look at when student resource officers were put into schools, it was actually, you know, because of integration. So I think the point that we're really trying to make is that for Providence, the district that is especially 90% students of color, like we have to kind of realize how we're supporting those students. So,
So, you guys are trying to make the transition from student resource officers to remote counselors. So how will the reduction of student resource officers lead to like more space in the budget to like actually like support this cause?
So, financial and budgetary questions in terms like those are, as part of student union, we believe that most of our money should be allocated to education and should be allocated to students. That's our number one priority, and we hope to, you know, have more money in order to increase the number of counselors and to provide an alternative to, you know, like school resource officers. We're not saying we have all the financial questions figured out yet, but that's something that we hope to continue working on with folks in the city council to figure out.
Hi. Hi, my name's Mitchie. So, M-I-C-H-E-L-L-E-T. That's my full name.
That's your last name.
That's my first.
What's your last name?
B-R-A-N-D. Hi, I'm Mitchie. So my school's the Met, and the Met is located here in Providence as well. It's very close. So the Met actually doesn't have SROs. They have a safety team basically. And if you don't know about us, but we're ranked one of the most highest, safest schools in Providence, Rhode Island. So the future of not having SRO is very possible because.
Speak up.
Oh, let me speak up. Okay, so the future of not having SRO officers, I say SRO, I'm so sorry, is possible because my school doesn't have them, and we have a safety team, and we're ranked one of the most highest safest schools in Rhode Island. And that's obviously very good. It proves this point that that future is possible. Along with that, we have counselors and we have nurses available basically the whole entire school week, even after. We're always there for you as a student because we do care about you, because you are human. That's it.
So Mitchie brings up a very good point of how there are schools that are able to make it work without school resource officers and are able to maintain the safety of the students without any officers being in there at all. But we do want to acknowledge that different schools have, you know, different kinds of folks inside and have different number of folks inside. And while one particular safety alternative might be good for one school, we want to make sure that all schools are able to determine what safe alternative works for them, depending on the size depending on the particular needs of students, which is why we keep pushing that students themselves rethink how safety looks like for themselves, instead of having, adults make those decisions for them. Yeah. Is there any more questions?
Would some youth be able to talk afterwards so we can get more student voice?
Yes. I mean, if they want to.
Yeah.
I can come up if you want to ask me questions, because I'm a student.
Okay, well, we could just do it off, it doesn't have to be
Okay,
formal.
cool. I don't really care. Either way,
Okay.
I'm willing.
Whatever works for you guys, it doesn't matter to me.
So right now, just to kind of wrap this portion up, we just want to remind folks that this is like kind of our first step to addressing the school to prison pipeline in Providence. We want to make sure that there are no arrests instead of just hundreds of arrests in Providence schools. So this is the first step in addressing that, and we want to make sure that we don't have any more students being arrested, that we don't have any incidents in Providence schools, and that folks are able to rethink what safety looks like inside of their schools, and branch out into the community as well. So with that, we would like to have someone come here and take a stab at this school to prison pipeline to symbolically represent what we're trying to do here today and going forward.
Yes, Alita.